Hi, shalom friends. All of us know that fruit comes from a tree, but not all trees produce fruit. So if you look at a fruit, you know there's a tree. If you look at a tree, not necessarily will you see a fruit. There are many people that espouse that honesty is the best policy, whether it be on a practical level or because of a spiritual level. They truly believe and earnestly believe, and they say with sincerity, there's nothing better than honesty. But you know something? It's a tree. Not always does the fruit equal. But if you were to see a person who was scrupulously honest, his word is his bond, and indeed does everything possible to be as clear and as precise and as honest, then you know that he has a strong belief system in the concept of honesty. We Jewish people, we believe in God, and then we trust in God. If you trust in God, you trust God will take care of you. That obviously presupposes that you have a belief in God. But believing in a creator doesn't necessarily translate into trust. Deep down, every single one of us wants to believe in God. Not only do we want to believe in God, but we would love that our belief in God gets translated into action. But we live in what's called the world of reason. And for some people, the act of believing is difficult because they're stymied. They look around and they observe things, others, sometimes by others, occasionally by themselves, which doesn't fit in with the concept of a benevolent God. And then they say to themselves, how can I believe in God and then act my life according to that belief and trust in Him if I can't get through the first level? I find it difficult to believe. There's things that don't make any sense to me. But they do want to believe. So I'll share with you today a very brief thought and then a story. The brief thought is, in Judaism, there's something called Gilgul, or in English, very, very roughly, it's translated as reincarnation. And the thought is that our souls are sent down to this world to perform certain missions, and occasionally a soul that does much good in this world misses its main point, or occasionally a minor point. And when the soul returns to its source, the heavenly court says, you were sent down to do a mission, but you didn't do the mission. Hence, there's something handicapped about you, or something missing in you. However, due to the grace of the Almighty, what we'll do is send you down again to the physical world. Now the body will be new, but the conditions and the situations will be very similar to what you had to have accomplished in a previous lifetime. And at this time, as if to say, get it right, this time complete it. When you will complete your mission on earth, which essentially had begun in an earlier time and period, that's when you'll be able to get your full reward and bask in the glory of the Almighty. That's called Gilgul. And often when people have suffering or notice suffering, or even looking at it on a national level and wonder, why did this happen? We often introduce a thought. This is a truth, it's not a crutch, but it's not necessary to talk about it every day. But essentially, when we come to a time where even according to the laws of the Torah, it just doesn't seem to fit in with the God of justice, who is also the God of benevolence, what we then say is, you don't see the whole picture. This person who's either undergoing this suffering or undergoing this situation is not only living his life now in the present, but is also completing something that he started in an earlier lifetime. Okay, enough theory. Let me tell you a powerful story. Though I don't know the names, the story is authentic. There's a wonderful woman in Israel, Sarah Brandsdorfer, and she's 38 years old. She has 5 children. The oldest is 11. and she's very happily married to a Shmuel. However, Shmuel contracted some type of a disease, and 8 months from being a vibrant, strong, loving husband and father, he turned into an invalid and died. And the tragedy was colossal. A family completely shattered, and it was like so sudden and so makes no sense. Literally makes no sense. And the widow continues life, and in spite of the obstacles and the tremendous pain that she carries, she's a model mother, she's an inspirational speaker, and she's essentially living, as much as we could see, a fully vibrant life. Often she's asked, how do you keep your faith? You are religious, your children are religious, your husband of blessed memory, he was religious, you were doing everything right. And look how God treated you. Took away your beloved, makes each day an additional struggle to raise children and to have economic hardship and to give them emotional support. How do you do it, Juan? Don't you ever get angry with God? And she says, let me tell you what I keep in mind. She says, I imagine myself to be not Sarah, but a Rachel. I imagine myself Rachel Goldstein in Poland, growing up in Warsaw to a Hasidic family. I have loving parents. I have 3 brothers and 1 sister. And all I want to do is be a wonderful Beis Yaakov girl. I go to the Jewish school. My life is Judaism and the Hasidic background. And I'm imagine to myself a happy life with many children, living a fully vibrant Jewish life, waiting for the Mashiach. And this is my dream as Rachel, until the Nazis come into Poland. And suddenly my dream is not only shattered, I'm exposed to a type of evil that I never imagined. My beloved parents, they die very quickly. My siblings are sent to the camps. My world is destroyed, and I go to Auschwitz. With miracles, grit, determination, anger maybe, I survived the war. And I say to myself, I'm going to Israel to make a new life for myself. But when I come to Israel, I look around and I see 2 different people. I see a people who are still clinging to the antiquated belief that God is good and God is fine and they're living in the promised land and all they have to do is serve God. And I look at another group of people who say we have to make this land grow, that we have to protect ourselves, and essentially God is irrelevant. And I decided that that's the correct way. So not only did I lose my faith, but I did everything possible to tell my story to people and to tell them, stop believing in a fairy tale. Stop believing in a God. Nothing makes sense. My parents were religious, fine people, and they were murdered. My brothers and sisters, they were murdered. The way of life, of holiness and sanctity, that was destroyed by evil. No. I did everything I could, not only to act on my loss of faith, but to enlighten those foolish ones that still believed. And after living a full life, I come up to heaven, and in the heavenly court, they say, Rachel, why did you act the way you acted? And I say in front of them, because down on earth we didn't see God, and I lost my faith because I was justified. And they said, justified? How do you know you were justified? And the soul of Rachel says, what do you mean, how do I know? How else could you explain evil destroying 2 of my beloved, my father and mother? They didn't deserve to die. And then suddenly they show me a different perspective. They show me my father and mother coming to a completion. They show me their background. And it somehow makes sense. It's not so shocking anymore That's what was supposed to be. I said, what about my brothers and sisters? And then they show me the larger picture. The souls that preceded them, the people that interacted with them in the past and in the present, and somehow their horrible death, as horrible as it was not haphazard. It somehow was following a plan. And then they showed me Warsaw, they showed me Poland, and where I had only seen the surface, which was completely, seemingly random evil acts, in heaven I began to see it as some type of mysterious plan which was coming into fruition. And as difficult as it is to say, actually for a positivity that would come from this. So the soul begins to weep and says, well, I didn't see it, so why are you blaming me? And they said, didn't you have faith? That's what faith is for. And the soul wept and said, give me another chance. And the heavenly court decided that they would give the soul of Rachel another chance. But they would not make another Holocaust. Instead, they would create an environment of perhaps what Rachel's soul was feeling on earth in the 1930s and 40s. And I was born, Sarah. And I experienced my own personal tragedy. My beloved husband, the father of my children, was taken away. Every day I go through a purification process. I'm tested. Do I have the strength? Do I have the optimism? Do I have the hope? Do I have my faith? And I remember I was sent down to rectify my lack of faith. Just as then Rachel's soul saw everything that happened, all the negativity was really a divine plan to be yet unfolding into something glorious and beautiful. I remember that what I am living through right now is for the same purpose. And that, my friend, is belief and trust coming together. It's not hard to believe. We want to believe. What's hard is translating belief into trust. But if it ever happens that you're blocked, how can I believe when? Remember, there was a life that you're continuing that life. And perhaps if you were to have known your previous life's mission, you would actually see your life in the present as not only as a continuation, but actually of a completion. May God give us the insight that we need for each and every one of us to fulfill our mission. And let's hope and pray very, very soon that there will be no more suffering, and that all of the negativity that we've read and perhaps experienced will then be understood how this was in turn something creating, in turn to create something beautiful and holy. We will see this with the days of the Mashiach. May he appear very soon. Amen.